Imagine yourself, you're standing in front of 100 highly skilled individuals, and your task is to perform something great with them all at the same time, and your key clients are watching you. That's the daily situation of a conductor and an orchestra. Sounds very challenging? Yes, it is. So I believe we can learn a lot from conductors, and this is why this episode hosts the Israeli conductor Itay Talgam. Itay has a wonderful TED Talk that I highly recommend you to watch. Enjoy the episode. Don't miss out what Heiko and Itay have to talk about. I'll see you at the end.
So this blue beauty here is a Mercedes-Benz 230E. An amazing car. This car really is dear to my heart. It has a history for me. My dad drove this as his first company car, and there's something about the design of this car that Bruno Sacro, the designer of Mercedes at the time, he really designed this to keep the people who were driving it alive. It had the first time really designed crumple zones, a real integrated safety concept. It was a level up from other cars on the road at the time. And this is the perfect car for our guest right now, Itay Talgam, Israeli conductor, who's leveling up orchestras to work in the spirit of Leonard Bernstein, who also had this feeling that the best orchestras could work without a conductor. And he's helping organizations to work in an essentially leaderful way and in a self-organizing way. Can't wait to get this bad boy on the road and take a ride with it. So let's do this. Look what I picked for you.
What? Wow, that's elegant.
I know you're a Jaguar guy, but try to get a Jaguar in German winter.
No. I love this.
You know why I got it? It's twofold.
Yeah.
The first reason is Leonard Bernstein drove one of those.
I know. He had a license plate and it said Maestro 1.
Maestro 1.
Maestro 1.
So this is the first reason, and since it's so windy, the second one I'll tell you in the car. But there's one thing we need to do. There's a German habit, what you have to do when you drive a Mercedes. So follow me. It's a cliche in Germany. You get to pick a hat.
I'll take this.
It looks perfect.
Okay.
Love it. First of all, thank you very much for doing this with me. I know this is a bit crazy, so I really appreciate this.
Pleasure.
From the level of planning, you can see that I was intimately involved with the schedule of the day.
Yeah.
I think you have no idea how much we have used and abused your teaching in what we do. Like, there are companies out there that will talk in terms of, hey, but that's very moody of you, right? You should be a bit more Bernstein. If you know, at least Kleiber, or
That makes me very happy.
Right?
Actually, yeah.
It's such an accessible metaphor. Like, how did you get from music to organizations? What was the first time that happened, or where did the idea come from?
Well, by chance I was asked to do.
Come on, that was time for your ego. Now you can say, I had a master plan.
No plan at all. I was just a young conductor, and I was proposed this very high fee for the time to speak to some bank managers, and it came with a warning. The invitation came with a warning. They're not interested in classical music. So why do you a little bit of culture they wanted to give them, and so I realized that the only way to go about, I didn't realize it right away, but through my little process of preparing, I realized that first, already I hate them.
It's a great start. They don't want to hear classical music,
No.
and you hate them.
Yeah,
Sounds like
for
that.
that. For driving the 500S Mercedes cars while I come on my bike. I hate myself for feeling superior to them because I'm an artist and I'm not busy with the materialistic side of life, and all that made me very negative, which is not a good way to start. So I came to the idea that rather than telling them things which I couldn't see myself as having anything important to say, but I knew that there were important things I could show them, not by talking about them, but simply to put something like a great conductor doing a great work of leadership in front of them. And then, since I love it, and I come with this passion and positive attitude towards not them, but what I show them, it might work, and it did. The great surprise was that they didn't need more than 2 minutes to be completely immersed in that metaphor. It seemed that, even if you know nothing about music, you just look at this visual phenomenon. Somebody conducting an orchestra, using their whole body to convey something human, but also something that connects to the whole organization working together in harmony. And there's some correlation you want to decipher. So that's how it started, and I was more surprised than anybody, I think, that it worked so well.
I think this is a discussion I very often have with leaders and organizations, is they say, oh yeah, well, it's all situational. You need to be able to be muti, right?
Muti, you mean this kind of...
very authoritarian.
Yeah,
right?
Controlling, maybe...
Yeah. And I say, well, the difference is the mindset. Like, do you choose to go electric or combustion engine? You can have a hybrid, but what do you say, where do you see the future, right? I want to strive for all of us being able to work like in a Bernstein orchestra. Okay, well, you might have to pick them up at Muti, but you strive for another system.
Now, if you're there, then you can at a certain point feel that you need to be a Muti. At some point, you don't want a dialogue, If I see somebody crossing the road now and I see that you're looking the other side, God forbid, I will shout at you. I will not ask you, Heiko, do you really want to, smash this old lady into this lady? There's some points in life you really need to say, do or don't. But if that's the way, as you say, the frame of mind that you work from, then you will never be able to be Bernstein.
Yeah.
That's why, even though we understand that when young people start their career as young leaders, they're expected to show this ability for taking a stand, being tough. But then you have to be very careful not to let them drink too much of this potion because it is addictive. And you know why? Because many people still want to be driven like that. Really, maybe not whipped, by being told what to do. And when you do that, you have the feeling that everything works fine. The glass ceiling of, okay, why don't those people that worked with me so nicely, why can't they take responsibility? Why are they not happy at the end of the day? This comes later. Yeah. So as a mentor, I would say this is our job to see that they have this, they have the confidence to take a stand and be sometimes tough, but not get drunk by it.
For me, what's interesting is also with what ear you listen to something with. You're very selective hearing. Like when I first listened to your TED Talk, it was all about, see, I told you, everybody needs to be a Bernstein, right? Everybody can be a Bernstein. Like, and then I went out and I gave everybody your TED Talk, and I was like, see, I was right.
Yeah.
Even he says, in music, this is possible. Right? And then I read an article by you, which was that you were at one point conducting an orchestra. I forget if it was Russian or something.
Yeah, my own orchestra.
And you were basically, you
Russian
brought
players.
this in, and then these guys got upset and said, this is not where we are, right? Like, we need...
They didn't even have to explain. They said, you're not telling us what to do. It means that you don't know what you're doing. And it means that we are working for idiots, for an idiot. And all I tried to do, obviously, was to say, listen, this is something we can all share, the thought, the process. Come on, chip in. And I was looking to show respect, and they thought I was insulting them.
And incompetent, right? They thought that...
completely incompetent. If you're competent, you know what you want, you know how to get there, and you're going to tell everybody what to do. And this is just the system.
What did you do with them at that point?
At that point, I felt horrible and terrible, and didn't know what to do. I think it took me a few years really to maybe I'm slow, but to actually understand that a dialogue is not where you just go and say, okay, just tell me what's interesting for you. This is not a dialogue. A dialogue is where you create the conditions for somebody to actually want to share with you, want to take the effort of being inventive and creative, and for that you have to work very hard. It's not just playing the game of oh, look, I'm open, I'm giving you the time to speak, and of course, if you want to get something very fast, you need to give orders. You cannot create a culture and relationships and dialogue in half an hour. If you were now given some emergency task, you would have to just go on and do it. You simply don't have enough time, and that's what's difficult about trying out this option of becoming a Bernstein.
Yeah, and I think a former mentor who unfortunately passed away, Les Heyman, once told me, anarchy is not self-organization, right? He said a lot of managers who had an experience where they said, oh, I tried that with my team, I let them do it, and then they failed. So I'll not give them that space again.
So now,
abandonment is not self-organization. Right?
Yeah, I totally agree, and this really brings us to the most interesting, I think, and challenging topic, which is what kind of a platform do you create for your people that will be engaging enough, enabling enough for them to hop on, but then will be flexible enough for them to be able to change it while actually taking the ride. So if you give them nothing, there's no reason for them to join. If you give them something which is too good, they will just say, this works, we're not going to change anything. So you have to give them this vehicle that's going to be transformed completely by them and become something you yourself cannot even dream about.
Do you know why we chose this space also?
No, but it is beautiful.
Normally we're in cafes and it's very noisy. Here,
no, it's very nice.
It's quiet,
very
right?
Nice.
So
I didn't quite analyze it, but now that you mention it,
even though it's quite windy outside, you sit in here and it's really, you're sheltered from the storm.
I like it. There's one thing in common. Look at different conductors, great conductors, is that they never give up. I mean, their resilience to all kinds of failures and objections and dissatisfaction, be it the audience, the critics, or the orchestra members, they are like this. I mean, not like this in terms of what they do. If they're smart enough, they'll know how to change, adapt, develop. But one thing is clear, I mean, they don't give up. And that's something so important because it's about the power of will. And when you understand that about yourself, you also understand that about how you help other people. Because mostly, I mean, if you're a conductor, you cannot help your violin players with their technique. They know better. Even if you're a violin player, even if you're Itzhak Perlman conducting now, great violinist, he can maybe help the violins, but he cannot help the oboist. So you understand, it's not about that. It's about somehow supporting them in their quest, whatever it is, to contribute in the best way. It will be fulfilling for them. And they will experience the same setbacks as you yourself experience.
Do you actually, is that something that you have to bother with as a conductor? Like the itty-gritty administrative part of that? Do you have to fire a violin player or something, or is that?
In the olden days, when Toscanini didn't want anybody, somebody, he could just, order him, mostly him, but also her, off the stage, and that would be it. It's not like that anymore, of course. Unions and just things got better in that sense. which may bring other problems. But certainly the whole attitude changed completely. It's you're not the employer. No, you are most of the time only a guest conductor. Anyhow.
I love that part in your call. Don't look at the trombone players; it only encourages you.
Yes, yeah. That's of course a quote from Strauss.
But this is the same. Like you could say that in a board meeting. Like, don't look at the HR guy. It'll only make him speak up. Like, just don't look that way.
Yes, people get it. Yes.
I'm curious. So we talked about when the camera overheated in the car when we were just pulling in the parking lot, about how difficult it is to go through that maturity stages with your own team to get them to a self-organizing or a Bernstein orchestra. And how hard it is even for people like us who have done this for decades. Right? It's still you're still going against your basic instincts.
Yeah, to take the controls.
Yeah, because you always you feel like.
Yeah.
What would be your what is the kind of advice that you would give to leaders who are in that situation? Is there anything that you've learned from your experience to say in those situations?
Well, the obvious thing I want to say, it depends on the situation, of course. Again, if there's fire in the building, God forbid,
Let's not have a discussion about it. Yeah.
You don't whether I like myself, lightly grilled or well done. No, you just want me to get out, so you'll throw me out. But most cases are not like that. So maybe from understanding the kind of risk-taking that you can do, if you say, we are pitching to the most important and we cannot say the wrong thing, and because we lose the main contract that we have. Okay. By the way, even that is not okay, because if something does go wrong, and some question that you have not foreseen comes up, you want to have somebody from your team saying, actually, I have a thought about this, and this is it. Come up with something that you don't know, and it might be the only thing that will save your neck in the most, important. So it's not. I'm not saying less important thing, let them do. More important thing, no. You have to. More important thing, you have to let go. But you have to practice that. It's a muscle you have to train within yourself, also within the team. That's my best advice. Find as many opportunities you can to train that muscle of letting go on both sides. I mean, on all sides, I would say, because it's not one leader and team, it's everybody. And then when you get to the moment of truth, you stand a good chance of actually winning.
We were talking about the 60s and how people are socialized. Like, did you ever have to take a substantial risk in going this way, following Bernstein on his on this path? Was there ever a moment when you said, I'm going to have to put it all on the line because I believe in this?
I'll tell you just a little story. I had this Tel Aviv Symphony Orchestra. We had the first concert, inauguration concert, very important. And I had this crazy idea during rehearsals that I will let them play Mozart Symphony, not sitting as an orchestra, but rather as many string quartets. Mm-hmm. So we had a first violin, second violin, viola, and cello. Second violin, viola, and cello. Mm-hmm. So we had little teams. And that worked so beautiful in rehearsals. And also the sound was so different that I said, it's so good, we need to do it in the concert. But then my mistake was that I didn't appreciate the fact that also the audience has a part to play. I didn't speak about it, I just put it in front of them, and everybody hated it. The orchestra was out of its comfort zone, obviously. The audience was out of its comfort zone. I just took... And my arrogance was that I didn't think, even if I want to do it, maybe not in the first concert. If I want to do it in the first concert, maybe explain to people that sometimes the experimentation is equally important to us as musicians as the maybe final acoustical outcome. There were many ways of tackling it, I think. But I was too young.
I have a final question for you, Itay, before we head for lunch, because we're both dying. I remember when I was having my ride with Dan Walker, and we were talking about Steve Jobs, and
Yeah.
we were talking about. I asked him, "What is leadership for you?" And he said, "Well, for me, great leaders are great teachers, right? That you always take something away from that." And Jobs wasn't a nice person, but my God, did I learn a lot from that person, right? What if you had you had this wonderful metaphor of like, well, Mozart's probably the third seat from the center, and let's say maybe Leonard Bernstein is on the fourth seat from the center.
Yeah.
If you could say something today to Lenny about what have you learned from him that made your life more meaningful, what would it be?
I never imagined that so many, aspects of life could be not only brought in, but actually create what you're, conducting is really. So I think Bernstein actually connected the dots of my life, the things I love, the literature, the history, the identity, also being Jewish. Jewish in the most inclusive way, not exclusive. What he understood to be in constant dialogue with this Mozart or and the community, and the enlargement of the boundaries of the community from the stage. We are professional, we're working with professionals, to the community of meaning, which is everybody, the last kid sitting there in the audience, or the people listening over the radio, they were all part of it. So everything got simply larger and larger and larger. There was a larger group of people you communicated with constantly. There was a larger depth to the dialogue, because it consisted of so many other things rather than actual music making. So it was like going from a two-dimensional world to a four-dimensional world, or if you want, even a fifth dimension here and there that is inexplicable. I'm sorry, in what we know as a fourth-dimensional world, and it's still ongoing. Yeah, this is still with me. But thank you for this question. I'll keep on thinking about it.
Thank you very much for the time driving around with me without freaking out.
Well, it was a pleasure, but in a very deep sense. That's because I'm still carrying this conversation with me, probably for a long time.
Let's get some lunch.
Let's do.
What's my key takeaway from this episode? Well, for conductors, there's a dedicated career track, and you can learn how to lead an orchestra. It's the same for football coaches. They learn how to become a coach. What is the equivalent for leaders? What career track, what training do they go through to be able to lead a great team? We hope that we can contribute to that with our Leaders and Cards Getting Coffee shows to inspire you and learn from other great leaders. So stay tuned, there's a lot more to come. Don't miss any episode. Thank you for being with us.